future is now. Bringing the game, change and style. The future of monetization for brands when it come to gaming. Break it down.
Hello and welcome to Game Changing Style, the Fashion in Gaming podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Tracy Greenan.
I'm Theodalia.
And I'm Amelia Rebinar.
Today, we're joined by Nic Hill, the co-founder and head of interactive at Sawhorse Productions, a leading agency specializing in immersive experiences through film and gaming, creating innovative content for major brands and studios. As we begin today's episode, please note that the opinions expressed are those of the hosts and our guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of any affiliated organizations. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered professional advice.
Welcome to the show, Nic. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me, everyone. I'm really excited to dive in and chat today.
Could you tell us a little bit about your backstory? How did Sawhorse come about, and what got you interested in building immersive experiences?
So, just to take it back to my beginnings, I got into all of this because of storytelling and creativity. And I started a production company where I was telling brand stories and making video content, sort of like in the digital age when YouTube was about becoming a thing and influencers were becoming a thing. That really was like when I leaned in, and opposed to making traditional like long form video, I really focused on short form video. And I founded a company and started building content for brands. And that's sort of how I got in initially.
How do you balance the creative vision that you see for a brand and that Sawhorse sees? How do you balance that with their expectations for monetization?
Yeah, well, there's kind of like two different goals when a brand is thinking about activating in the immersive space. And what the first goal is like sort of like the top of funnel marketing, which is just awareness. And leveraging these large platforms to tell their brand stories and access huge amounts of people and just make them aware of the product or the brand. And then another goal as you move sort of down that funnel is conversion and direct sales and monetization. Those are two completely different strategies. And what I think is most important is authenticity. So when you create an experience and you show up, no matter what your goals are, you have to show up in a very authentic way that specific audience will receive well. If you come to the platform in a way that's not authentic, you're just going to get rejected. And when it comes to monetization, I kind of look at it as a nice to have. If you have a vibrant community that really loves the brand and leans in, there are opportunities to make money. But to your point about, how do you balance that? I don't really think you can balance it, because if you're coming to the platform and your only goal is to make money, you're probably not going to be successful. So it's like, do it right, engage with the community, and then if you do that, then the money will come like naturally.
Yeah, and I think you've got some really good points there, because I remember when we did our survey of gamers and brands, the number one thing they said to us, what was those 2 points about authenticity, and they don't want to feel like they're playing an ad, and they're so used to, this is their sacred space, so it's very easy for them to tell when something is off, and then they'll usually respond by not playing that game or hopping on to something else. Can you tell us, Nic, a little bit about the Alo Yoga collaboration that you worked on for Roblox, specifically the refresh of the sanctuary? We know that since its inception, just a couple of since 2021, it's already received 117 million visits, making it one of the most successful brand experiences on the platform. What do you feel are the key factors behind its success? And yeah, tell us a little bit about what you guys did on there.
Yeah, that's a great question. The Alo Sanctuary experience on Roblox was the first immersive experience that we ever built. So Sawhorse, we've been around for 14 years, And for the first 10 or so, we only did video content. And then during the pandemic, that's when we pivoted and kind of grew our capabilities into building immersive experiences for brands. And Allo was that first experience. One of the reasons why it was successful was we, at that time, didn't know what we were doing in a good way because we just did our best to translate that brand into a 3D immersive experience. So instead of translating it into, a video or a commercial without us even understanding very much about the Roblox platform, we just kind of thought outside of the box and took that brand and put it in a three-dimensional space. And at that time, we didn't even lean into any of the game design trends that were working on the Roblox platform. We just thought, in a kind of a naive way, if you could create an experience for a brand and you could allow users to do whatever is in your mind, what would it be? So we really focused on the brand ethos about mindfulness and air, land, ocean, which is what the core elements of the brand. So we built a three-dimensional environment that was had art direction that was fully in line with the brand. So when you step into it, you feel like you're stepping into an Allo store or like even more aspirational, fantastical version of what an Allo store could be or environment. And then we leaned into the other things that Allo is really known for, which is their Allo Moves app, which has guided meditations and yoga videos and tutorials. So we really tried to figure out how to bring those activities into the space, and really figured out how to gamify those things so that users, when they were kind of in our experience, had incentive to participate with those activities and then also reward those users for that participation. One of the reasons why it's still successful is because of the guided meditation. We found that users really love doing that. And also it's super unique because there's not a lot of experiences on Roblox that are guided meditations. It's the primary game function that the majority of the users spend. And then they choose to come back time after time again to do those meditations. And they've kind of worked it into their routine. They're on Roblox playing different games, socializing with all their friends, but then as part of their routine is like, oh, they'll pop into Allo Sanctuary for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, do a quick meditation, enjoy the 3D art, and then go somewhere else.
Cool. Can you tell us about the NFC chip technology that you did?
Yeah, that was our recent Allo update that we got to partner with POAP Studios, which are a fantastic team over there. And we leveraged this NFC technology, which essentially is, it basically can just verify that you went to a specific place. So unlike a QR code that could be copied and shared everywhere and people, engage with that to verify, this is actually in a physical location. And the idea was, can we get Roblox users into Allo stores? And within the experience, we messaged that. We said, you can earn this special jacket if you go to any of the Allo stores in the entire world, and there's 150 locations. And what we did is we put a little sticker and a chip on every single door across all of those locations. So the users would, find out about it on Roblox. Then they could go to their local Allo. They can tap the door. It verifies that. Then they come back into Roblox and it recognizes that they were actually the person that did it. They actually went to that physical location, and then we reward them with the item for that. And the whole idea was like not to necessarily, drive sales, but it was more so this idea of just getting foot traffic in the door and sort of proving that attribution, because it's one thing with brands. I mean, look at Allo. It's over 100 million visits to the experience, but because Roblox is a bit of a walled garden, the brand doesn't have all the user data about those people, doesn't have their contact information necessarily. So for a brand, they're looking at it like, well, how do I reach these people? This is a marketing activation. How do I engage with them outside of just offering them a game experience? So this is one solution to that, where it's like, yeah, you get all that traffic, and a portion of that will go through your store and at least become more aware of the brand and ways to buy and that foot traffic.
Well, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah,
Go into their actual physical store and
it's
search
a
for that.
it's a cool experience. You should do the user journey.
Yeah.
And I think you're just going to see a lot more of that stuff because brands, they need to prove that ROI and they need to make this make sense for them beyond just a high level sort of brand awareness play. It has to turn into direct sales and, value for the brands.
Yeah. And I like how you're blending physical and digital together because it's nice to have the best of both worlds blending in and seeing how that works and experimenting with that.
Yeah, and I think that that's really important because, in the old school non-digital era, all it was physical. Then we got into the digital and we had all kinds of games and you could have different avatars. And now with technology, how quickly it's moving, those things are starting to merge together. And I think we're definitely not there yet, but that is the direction that we're going. Eventually, you're going to spend as much time in virtual spaces as you are in physical spaces. And the opportunity for brands and business is going to completely change. And I think right now we're in the early days, and it's exciting to kind of experiment with this stuff. But you're going to get to a point where it's no longer in the innovation space and it's just business and it's just the way we do things. So it's just really exciting to be at the forefront of testing all of these things.
So, with the idea that you mentioned before of making sure that you keep community in mind, um, when you're making these branded experiences, what kind of strategies are you looking at trying to make something that resonates?
Yeah, it's a challenge, I will say. And I will say that every community is completely different. Every audience is different on across all the different platforms. So all the biggest UGC gaming platforms in the world, Roblox, Minecraft, Fortnite, Zepeto, Rec Room, Second Life, all of these places, brands make the mistake where they think, oh, I'm going to go into gaming, and here's my gaming strategy. I'm going to make this type of thing, and I can throw it anywhere. It just doesn't work like that. Every community is different, way different demographics, different expectations, different game types. So, yeah, you'd have to think about it from that perspective as you go in. Um, but on top of that, as I think I mentioned earlier, but the primary way to find success is understanding those communities and being authentic. So if you understand that community, what they like to do, how they spend their time, then you can design an experience that's going to be in line with their expectations and you're going to be welcomed because it shows the communities that they're understood. And also, when you build these activations, I like to call them like immersive commercials, essentially. Unlike a commercial in the real world where nobody has agency when they watch it, it's just sort of consumed top down. And also they don't have a choice most times. Usually it's like a pre-roll ad that they're forced to watch, or if it's TV, it's a break. In these scenarios, oftentimes users are choosing to go into that ad. So I don't know anyone that would choose to watch ads while watching TV, right? Or if they're scrolling, like, give me an ad next. It doesn't really work like that. But within the gaming space, it kind of does because you have to advertise your immersive commercial as something that people would want to go to. Then they're opting in to actually go into that experience. And once they're there, my argument is, well, you need to entertain them and you need to offer them value so that they are enjoying whatever that is that you built and they're walking away with something of value. And that's like extremely important. And I think that's a new way for a lot of brands and marketing teams to be thinking, because just throwing a big billboard that's like, I'm so great, buy my stuff, doesn't really work that well in these virtual spaces.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of jumping off of that and deep diving into the games that you're currently in, we've seen that Sawhorse is starting to move into Fortnite with Rogue Wave and the new Mickey 17 experience. So we were wondering if you guys are seeing any sort of similarities or differences in creating the experiences for each game.
Similarities or differences to creating on Fortnite in general or compared to other platforms?
Sorry, compared to Roblox. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, totally different, I would say. One thing I love about Roblox is it's, in my opinion, the best version of the concept of what a metaverse is. Meaning it's a massive platform with a huge audience, very diverse audience, and a bunch of unique experiences that people can jump into. So, like with Roblox, I feel like the type of gamer is so diverse. I think from male female perspective, it's almost 50-50 as far as like gamers that, the interests are very wide. Some people want to do social games, some people want to do fighting games, shooting games, fashion games, right? So when you design there, you can kind of make a game that's interesting to you, and then you can carve out a large chunk of people that are going to like it. And it's been around for a long time. So they're at the top. Then if you shift over to something like a Fortnite, it's a much different scenario. It's an older audience. It's primarily male, and uh, that entire game or UGC platform started as a battle royale third-person shooter game. That's all it was. So anyone in that community, that's what they were doing. So it has that background. And just in the past couple years, they opened up the UGC side of it, and they kind of introduced this new concept of you can come here and play any type of game. And so they're not they're they're kind of behind Roblox in that sense. They haven't had enough time to build a robust UGC gaming community. And so the audience is completely different. And what you might design on a Roblox probably wouldn't work on a Fortnite. So when Fortnite designs, we're kind of leaning into like shooting games or potentially racing games. Also, the demographic is different. So some brands who aren't looking for that sort of slightly older male audience, they may not want to activate there. There's also like a brand safety issue because Fortnite is, although it's not very violent, there's a whole culture of, it's a first person or third person shooting game. So there's certain brands that just kind of have an aversion to that in general.
Yeah, there's such good differences you explained between Roblox and Fortnite. And getting back to Roblox, I'd just like to congratulate you on becoming both an official brand creator partner and brand media partner for Roblox's partner program. Can you explain to us, Nic, the roles between those two and how this duo position gives Sawhorse a unique advantage when working with brands on the platform?
Yeah, totally. And thank you for that. It's been great working with the Roblox team. It really is a partnership in how we work together to help brands see success. And I would also throw out, it's just interesting across all of these platforms. They're all very different, and the company or the platform, they all have different perspectives on how to work with brands. Some want to partner with dev studios and make great experiences. Others want to be more laissez-faire and just say, we're not going to build anything for brands, that you have to talk to somebody else. Others have a perspective where they want to take all of the business and build directly for the brands, and they kind of just don't care about those that are operating. So Roblox specifically is very open and interested in supporting devs and collaborating with the devs. They're trying to figure out a business model that's going to work. And then as far as being in the program and the two tiers, the first tier is being a builder. So Roblox can trust certain companies to actually build these experiences. that's the one side. We do a lot of that. And then the other side is like the media side. So, and the marketing. If an experience is built, how do you guarantee that people are going to be there? Because, and this is a whole concept, which is like marketing the marketing. And that's difficult for a lot of brand teams to understand. Because they, when they first start thinking about, they're like, cool, I'm going to build my Roblox world, and that's going to cost me X, and then I'm done. But we all know that doesn't work because once it's built, you need to get the eyeballs there. And that is where the media side comes in and the marketing strategy and the user acquisition. So we do a lot of that as well. When we design these experiences, not only are we figuring out what do people want to do, how is the brand represented, what is the core design? The second side is, how are we going to communicate with the community and integrate across the entire platform to make them aware, incentivize them to come into the experience, and then sort of blow it out and have a big success, Like one example I would use is like the Beetlejuice experience that we built for Warner Brothers. From a marketing and media standpoint, we had to take a significant portion of that budget and dedicate it just to that marketing side. And that went into running media on the platform itself. So, billboard ads and videos for trailers for the movie, also driving traffic and awareness back to our Beetlejuice experience that we built. But we also partnered with a handful of other games and did Beetlejuice integrations in the afterlife in those games. And the creative was if you died in that game, you were prompted with a message that said, "Do you want to come back in the afterlife?" And you're just like, what is that?
Yeah,
They
that's
click on
cool.
that. Yeah. And then they get spawned into our Beetlejuice experience um, with like some sort of damage on their avatar from that they received in dying in that game.
I
And then
love that.
yeah, and then they kind of discovered Beetlejuice. But one of the reasons why that was so successful was because it just had all of these touch points. We kind of figured out how to like activate and create awareness across the entire platform, not just in the core thing that we built. And everything was feeding in to that. And as far as like success, we had over 25 million visits in the few weeks that it was up. And that's just massive awareness.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, it was
I
it
love
was
that. I
fun.
love the I love that. I love those ideas. That's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean that's the one thing I really love about this stuff is you can be so creative. You
Hmm.
have so much freedom to create things that have never been done before and activations that people really connect with. Um, it's one of the reasons why I love this job. It's it's also difficult because there's not much of a blueprint that you can follow for each activation. I think there's some people that, kind of don't want to stress out at work and just want to do their job. I would say working in immersive UGC gaming and the metaverse space is not for you if you're like that.
So also about marketing a bit with Roblox. Um, is there any particular role that wearables play when creating an experience for a brand? Are they important or
Yeah, I mean, I equate wearables to in the real world to like swag. Think about like an IRL activation that you go to that's branded. Like you're out in the city and it's like there's this big pop-up and there's something going on that's interesting and the brand's giving out some free product. Like they're probably also giving out like beanies or t-shirts or like cool wristbands or whatever. I equate the UGC wearables to that when it comes to brands. Um, because if you're in an activation, you kind of want to walk away with something. And so that's just a direct connection to the real world with that. And then when you talk about like the fashion side, like all these fashion brands, coming into the platform, it's even more important for them because their core product is fashion and wearables in the real world. So being able to translate that into these immersive experiences is key for them and really in line with all their brand ethos. And I think that that's one of the reasons why a lot of the early brands that leaned into these spaces were fashion brands. So some of the top luxury brands, as well as tons of other fashion brands in the clothing sector, have all activated within these platforms. And I think it's really important. Also, I think that from a game design standpoint, UGC can be used as incentive and sort of marketing and user acquisition. Because you could say, if you experience this and you kind of go through the games that I'm asking you to participate in, I will reward you with that wearable. And so that really is like a way of like driving traffic and engagement. And without that incentive, sometimes users are less interested in the experience. So I would say it's paramount, very important. But with this caveat, when you design these experiences, you can't just lean on that as your only reason for users engaging. At the end of the day, you're making games and you're offering entertainment. So take your incentive model and put it off to the side for a second. Think about what you're making. Create something that's actually fun that people actually want to do. Then you can layer on an incentive of like, oh, if you do the thing that is really great, I'll also give you this. That's how you make great experiences because people don't feel like they're slogging through some awful thing because they really want to get that hat. And the second they get the hat, they're like, I'm out of here. This game is not fun. You don't want that. And there's a lot of that out there. So that's
Yeah,
the
that's a good point.
pitfalls you want to avoid.
So, with that being said, what do you think the most important step for a brand trying to get like specifically into Roblox?
The most important step for brands wanting to get into Roblox. Oh, I would say you have to understand it. Just first understand it. And that, comes from talking to people like you guys, people like Sawhorse, and educating yourself on the space so you just understand what the platform is, what the community is. And then you have to trust someone who understands that community to help design the way you show up. You shouldn't show up on your own. So reach out to these experts, connect with them, and let them advise you on how to get in. And another piece of advice is part of that education is a test and learn. You don't necessarily need to go to the platform and create a massive world on day one. I would advise you brands not to do that. I think what you want to do is you want to come to the platform, create an authentic activation that is not too much of a lift, see the success, gain the learnings, track the metrics, and then do some deep thinking about how that went and other ways that you can see even more success, then come back with another strategy.
Sounds good. Yeah, I completely agree on the experimenting. Just start small, see how that goes, and then move on to what works well with your brand. Nick, with so much going on in the gaming world, how do you stay on top of things? What are you reading, or what apps are you following, or what shows or events or conferences are you going to?
Yeah, that's a great question. I love this stuff, so I'm like fully immersed. I'm always looking for different bits of information. I would say that there's not a lot of great books out there necessarily, mainly because it's moving so quickly. Like a book that came out like a year ago, it might be talking about things that are no longer relevant within the space. Um, but I think podcasts are really great. Your guys' podcast is fantastic. I have a new podcast I launched called Brands in Play, where we interview different experts from studios and agencies and brands. We just talk about the space. These type of resources are free. Listen to these podcasts, subscribe to them, and then, you're just getting all this real information from the people that are actually making this stuff. That's really valuable. And then I would say also LinkedIn is hugely valuable for me. I'm on there every single day, and that's where I get my news. Essentially, it's like a news channel. That's the way I look at it. So it's like if you establish your network and you're following all the right people, anytime there's an activation on a UGC gaming space, it just comes up in your feed. And you're like, oh, wow, Nike did this on what platform? Oh, that's interesting. Follow this, that. And every single day, if you're just kind of going through your scroll, if you've set that up, you'll know about all the different activations that are happening. And you can read about the perspectives of those that are building it, and then also like sort of the performance that those are having. And that's how I sort of create my knowledge base and stay up on that. And then the last thing I would say is, if you're really interested in a specific platform, just having conversations with people that are activating in the platforms, different developers, different game studios, because they'll identify different game trends, and that's super valuable because you can learn like, oh, on this platform they're doing this type of thing, and then that could be valuable because you may want to replicate that game type or that trend. It's a good way to see success.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Nic. For our listeners who want to learn more about your work or connect with you, where can they find you?
Well, thank you for having me. And yeah, you could find me on LinkedIn. My name is just Nic Hill, Nichill. Or if you're curious about Sawhorse and the work that we do there, our website is sawhorsela.com. It's got all of our traditional work and our immersive work. And if you're curious about tracking the space in general, recommend this podcast, but you're already listening and subscribing, I imagine, but also my podcast, Brands in Play.
Perfect. Well, we like to close this with a Sawhorse Productions trivia question to ask our audience.
What brand has yet to create a Roblox virtual experience?
Is it A, Chipotle, B, Target, C, Walmart, or D, Gucci?
Check our website for the answer.
And also make sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on our socials, Game Changing Style everywhere, or visit our website, gamechangingstyle.com. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you.
The future is now. Bringing the game, changing style. The future of monetization for brands when it come to gaming. Break it down, talking about the strategies for pros in so many industries. The podcast